Ladies and gentlemen of YouTube, this is Max with Mira Tech Talk, back with another video. And the new MacBook Pros were announced this morning, or this afternoon if you're on the East Coast like I am. So here's the thing. There are notches on these new computers. Now, if you go through Twitter, there's some people that are triggered by this, and I don't necessarily understand why, because I looked at some of the feature sets that are going to be coming with these new computers, and honestly, if it allowed them to put in a better camera system or for facial recognition, what have you, the additional features they're adding, it doesn't necessarily bother me that much. Yes, it's still technically an intrusion on the display. I'm not contesting that. But it begs the question, could they have done these things? Could they have achieved the same result by doing a hole punch rather than a notch? And I don't know if their engineering team is capable of doing it, or if this is going to be a gradual change with future technology releases, that they're eventually going to get to a notchless display. I don't know. I hope so. I mean, some people argue that the notch is a marketing tool for Apple at this point. And I could see that argument. To be honest with you, it's on their phones. It's on their iPhone Pro series. It's on their regular iPhone series. And the only phone that doesn't have a cutout notch is the SE, and that just has the chin and the forehead. There's no notch. It's just old style phone display. I don't look. Some people are, you have these polar opposites. Some people hate the notch. Some people are okay with it. Some people love it. Like I said, to me, I'm indifferent. If it was gone, I guess that would be my preference, but that's not the reality we live in. Some people argue that Samsung implemented a hole punch display, that they implemented the under screen camera, which is, I've seen it in person. It's not perfected yet. They need to do better with hiding the camera. Like, it needs to be seamless. To me, that needs to be seamless for that to go mainstream. And I've already seen the technology. It's getting better with each iteration. Other companies are starting to put in next-gen versions of it already. But the biggest thing is going to be improving the camera quality with that, and making sure it's blended well enough that you can't tell a difference between the regular display and where the camera's being hidden. Then I would say that's going to be good to go. But in the United States, at least, we're not there yet. We don't have those commercially available to where it's seamless. You can't see it. So, anyways, these new MacBook Pros with the M1 Pro and the M1 Max. Like, part of me feels like, it's kind of funny that they're adopting the moniker system they use for their phones, but I guess it kind of makes sense for them because they're unifying terminology across the board. We'll see how it works out. Honestly, for the market of people that they're going to be catering to for these devices, I think they're just going to be happy to have, all their ports back, or most of the ports, having a SD card slot, having the HDMI connector, in addition to the headphone jack and the USB-C ports. And good God, we're still at 8 terabytes of storage. That's a lot for a mobile device, like a laptop. But yeah, the numbers were impressive, but always a caveat. wait for reviews, wait for somebody to get this in their hands and work with it, or even better yet, go yourself when it's available on display to check it out. I will never tell somebody to pre-order anything until it's officially released. You never know. There could be some initial issues with production, since this is technically a first generation of this new form factor for them with a 14-inch model, and even the 16-inch, because this is a completely different architecture from what they've used with the Intel Macs. So I guess what I'm really saying is, if you're going to buy this, or if you're looking, you're interested, wait for reviews. And I would say this about any new product. Wait for reviews before you put your hard-earned money into something. And I would say this about anything. Don't let fear of missing out rule your wallet. Please, I beg you. Please. The video game industry is notorious for putting out half-baked titles and then promising updates to fix the issues with the initial release of the software, which may not always be the case. And another good example, the iPad Mini, the jelly scrolling effect. Now, I've seen it in person. It is noticeable, but it does in normal use. I wouldn't probably be. It wouldn't bother me. Yeah, but if you're inducing it by quickly scrolling up and down, you are going to notice it. And again, it's noticeable to the naked eye with the iPad Air and the horizontal orientation or the landscape orientation. It's just the way they position their controller for the display makes it so in the portrait mode it's visible in portrait while scrolling. So wow, this turned into a rant. Sorry. I guess to focus this a little bit, the M1 Max and the M1 Pro and the new MacBook Pros, I'm excited to see what they do with this new form factor, with these new computers. I'm sure the speakers are going to be amazing, because they usually are on MacBook Pros, and especially the 16-inch model. I'm really curious to see what they do with the MacBook Air next year. Because there were some initial leaks, which take it like a grain of salt, right? Leaks that they're going to update the MacBook Air to that more square-edged form factor. And I'm really curious to see what they do with that too. So let me know what you think about the new M1, or the M1 Pro, M1 Max, the new MacBook Pros. Are you excited? Is the notch going to bother you? And if the notch bothers you, that's okay. It really is okay. But I don't think that should be a deal breaker, especially if the device is going to do what you need for your workflows. And I think that's what it's going to come down to for a lot of people. If it's going to satisfy their needs for their workflow, they're going to overlook that. I mean, people are still going to buy this computer, right? And just don't get caught up in the hate mob over it. You know, I understand it might be an annoyance for some people. It is what it is. We can't change the product at this point, you know. So if it suits your needs, if it's going to satisfy your workflow, and it works within your budget, go for it. Seriously, you know. Anyways, let me know what y'all think in the comments section below. Really appreciate y'all that are sticking with me on this channel. Y'all take care. I will see you in the next video.